I've finally returned after one day. After one hiatus that was one day long. I'm here to review Arc 2 of Wings of Fire this time. And we're starting with Moon Rising. Right here. Oh, and here's the graphic novel, by the way. I am really confused on something that people say about this book. They're like, oh, Moon has a ruined prologue, and she's a Mary Sue or something. I don't know what Mary Sue means. I think it means, like, a perfect character. Moon's not a perfect character, let's just get that straight. And people also say that there's Moon's a bad, like, representation of anxiety. I related a lot to Moon, and I'm someone who has been so anxious that I've been hospitalized because I kept throwing up when I was anxious, and I just kept throwing up constantly. And as someone with severe anxiety, I did relate to Moon Rising, so I don't understand why some people think Moon Rising is a bad representation. I guess it doesn't have to be representative for all people with anxiety, because anxiety is a diverse experience. I also don't understand why people say the prologue was bad. I thought it was fine. I'm not sure what specifically people think was ruined about the prologue. And I also see people who criticize... I read a post, I don't know, I think it was on like Reddit or something, about how this book didn't make sense because Sora could have just killed Icicle in her sleep instead of blowing up a classroom or something. And I have two arguments against this. First of all, okay, I don't know for sure if this is true, but I think they keep the caves, like, separated by gender. So, okay, Sora and Icicle, they're in the same winglet, so they share a cave. And there could be... Okay, caves have, like, 2 to 3 dragons in them, so there could be a third female dragon in their cave, and then Sora didn't want to get caught, so she didn't go ahead with killing Icicle. That's theory number 1. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know who's in Sora's winglet. I don't remember. I know she's in the gold winglet. I think that's all. That's all I remember. I could also be wrong. I could also remember that wrong. And also, maybe Sora didn't want to be suspected of killing Icicle, because if Sora and Icicle were the only dragons in that cave, and Icicle was just dead one morning and Sora was the only one in the cave that night, then who do you suspect? You just suspect Moon. Not Moon. You suspect Sora. You don't suspect Moon. I don't know why I said that. I was just looking at the cover and looking at Moon. And about the graphic novel, while it's an amazing story, this does not work as a graphic novel, I'm sorry. You just have walls of text because Moon is, like, constantly reading people's thoughts. So it just doesn't work out. And especially on the pages where, like, a speech bubble will take up, like, literally the entire page, and it's just one panel of a dragon thinking. I thought that was kind of funny. I also wonder, like, how fast dragons are thinking, because there's, like, some parts in the book where, like, a dragon is just, like, standing there thinking something before saying something to Moon, and, like, I wonder how long the pause is while the dragon's thinking and, like, not saying anything, and Moon's, like, reading their mind. I don't know. Okay, for an example, that part when Winter walks into the classroom and starts thinking things about Moon, like, how long did it take him to think that? Because for me to read it, it took like 30 seconds to read that big wall of words, and I don't know if Winter just, like, stood there in the doorway for 30 seconds just staring at Moon. I think Moon listens to the thought, like, we probably think really, like, a lot faster than we talk, so maybe Moon's just, like, listening to words being said really fast. I don't know if that makes sense, but those are my thoughts on book 6, and we're getting to probably my second favorite book in the series, which is Winter Turning. And also, fun fact, for the graphic novel, I got the misprint it says winter turning with 2 eyes in the word turning. That's just really funny, because I was like a day one fan, and they fixed the misprint later, but I have the cool misprint. This book, I don't really know if it's my second favorite because I also love book 14 a lot, but this book has like my favorite scene in all of Wings of Fire. Maybe, I don't know, the Jerboa scene kind of rivals this one. It's that scene where Winter and Moon are like alone in the rainforest, and then Moon's telling Winter about the deal that he made with Glory, and then Moon's like, no, it's okay, I know you won't do it, because I trust you, and you think about what's best for the tribes. I don't think you would kill Glory. I don't think you have the guts to do that, because I know you're a good person. Good dragon. You're a good dragon. And then, hold on, I don't remember the exact words. I don't remember the conversation that led up to what Moon said. Oh, here's the page. Okay. Alright, should I just read the whole thing? Okay, so Winter says Moon, and Moon says Scarlet's gone. And then Winter says, was it terrible? Is Icicle alright? What did Scarlet say about Hailstorm? And Moon says, Scarlet says he's still alive. Icicle asked for proof, but Scarlet laughed. Icicle offered her a deal. And then Winter said, Moon, you don't have to. And Moon said, I'm not worried, I mean. I know you won't kill Queen Glory. And Winter was like, you know that? How? And Moon says, I think you respect Glory, and I think you can imagine what killing her would do to Pyria, and you wouldn't want to start a war. Also, you're her guest. You wouldn't betray her trust. And Winter says, weren't you extremely shy a few days ago, Moon? What happened to that unobtrusive, quiet dragon? And Moon says, it turns out it's actually much easier to talk to you when I can't hear what you're thinking. And Winter says, but all that? Are you sure you're not reading my mind? And Moon says, I know you, Winter. And I've watched you. You put out the fire in the history cave. You saved me from Starflight and from your own sister. You can think bigger than one tribe against another. You think about what's best for all the tribes. I trust you. And Winter says, you seem very sure that I'm honorable and brave. And Moon says, I am. And, okay, this is the part that I was like, screaming. I had to like set the book down and walk around the room covering my face because my face was so red. Okay, Winter says, sometimes I'm only sure of one thing, Moon, that I hope I never hurt you. And Moon says, me? But I thought you hated me. And Winter says, then you're not much of a mind reader, are you? That's, oh my god, that's like such a subtle love confession. I think Winter's crush on Moon was so cute, because Winter, he's always like pretending to be all mad and sundeer. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. That's like the only word I can think of. He's like all aggressive and he doesn't have any emotions. It reminds me of Raphael from the Ninja Turtles. And oh my god, I love him so much. I love that relationship with Ghibli, how it's like enemies to lovers, but like enemies and lovers at the same time, because it's like they're brothers but not brothers because they like each other. I don't know, it's like Woody and Buzz. Come on, you have to ship Woody and Buzz. And also remember this part, I was like, dude, they should just kiss. Moon and Ghibli and Winter, they should have a throuple, you know what I mean? When people are like, oh, do you ship Ghibli x Winter, Winter x Ghibli, or Moon x Winter? Wait, what did I say? Okay. Do you ship Ghibli and Winter, Moon and Ghibli, or Moon and Winter? And then when I was on my first read, I was rooting so bad for Winter x Moon, and once I got to book 10, I wanted the three of them to have like a sort of polyamorous relationship. I don't know. I think that really would have worked out if they did, actually. I don't know why Winter went off to separate, but like, I guess I can kind of understand it because like his heart was so broken. Oh my god. I feel like nothing went right for Winter. Like, he just kept losing and losing. I felt so bad for him. And he has like all this trauma. I think he had the worst trauma out of like all of the characters because of how much he was told that he wasn't good enough. And okay, I don't know. I really can't tell because sometimes in my mind, I feel like some parents are worse, like the ones that physically abuse their dragonettes, like how Kestrel and Dune were always like setting the Dragonettes of Destiny on fire, and I'm like, that's terrible. But the Dragonettes of Destiny, they still had like each other. They still loved each other, they looked out for each other, they had love. And I feel like Winter just did not have that. He didn't grow up with he didn't grow up with anyone who cared about them. So I'm really glad he went to school and he made friends who actually cared about him. And I think book 7 is like a great emphasis on chosen family, because his family obviously didn't love him, but instead of trying to keep on winning their approval, he just like decided not to deal with their bullshit anymore and find a family who like actually loved him the way he was and wasn't always wanting him to change and be something different to match their expectations. They didn't have expectations for him. They were his friends. They liked him just the way he was. That's just really sweet, and I think everyone should have that. I'm so sorry for people who don't have a family that just wants them to be happy and nothing else. That's, oh my god. Sorry. Next, if you love morally gray characters, Escaping Peril is gonna be a treat for you if you haven't read it yet and you're planning to read it. Because Peril she's like the most morally gray character I've ever read about, because she's probably killed like hundreds, maybe even thousands of dragons, and then she just like, she uses Queen Scarlet as an excuse almost, and like I can kind of understand it, because Queen Scarlet was like, your only purpose is for killing. That's the only thing you're good for. You're good for killing dragons who disobeyed me. Oh my gosh, such treason, they disobeyed me. Go kill them for me. And like, I understand that Queen Scarlet was like extremely manipulative and isolated Peril from any friends or anyone that could like change her philosophy. And Peril, like, she didn't have anyone else to listen to except Queen Scarlet. But also, I don't know, I hate it when people, they do something like immoral and then they use the excuse, they're like, well, I'm just doing my job. And then, well, Peril obviously uses the excuse as, well, I was just following orders from my queen. Like, come on. NPC behavior on steroids, am I right? Also, here's the graphic novel. I think the cover art's really cool for this one. Alright, let's take a look. Oh my gosh. Why is Tourmaline so veiny? You'd think that dragon scales would be really thick, right? Because dragons are strong. Also, I've noticed kind of a prevalence with abs on the dragons on the cover. They didn't used to have abs in the first few books, but now they do, and I feel like they're getting more and more noticeable. I don't know if Turtle has abs. He's too much of a wimp to have any. Also, I think Turtle's involvement with Peril just became so out of nowhere, but also maybe it's not out of nowhere, because Turtle wanted to help Moon out when no one else wanted to even talk to her that night. And okay, yeah, I guess it makes sense for Turtle to become friends with Peril. Some people ship Turtle and Peril, but no, Turtle and Peril would not work as a good couple, especially with how obsessive Peril is over Clay. Like, she has such a bad crush on him. I think it's kind of cute, and it's also like relatable, because I also kind of got the same way. I also thought about my crush a lot too, and I was like, oh, I'm just like Peril. It's probably a bad thing if you say, oh, I'm just like Peril, because Peril's not, I don't know, is Peril definitely becomes a better dragon. She learns from her mistakes, and that's like wild, because Peril was like so far deep in the manipulation, and then she like totally changed her view on life, and she stopped killing dragons despite being on fire constantly, and she always has these like impulsive thoughts to just go burn the dragon alive in front of her whenever she got a little bit mad at them. But she kind of stamps down those impulses, and that's great for her. That although it is kind of funny sometimes when she's like having a little argument or something with okay, so for example, she burned someone's homework accidentally because it was just on the floor, and then she was like, who just puts their homework on the floor for anyone to accidentally set it on fire? Who does that? You stupid rainwing. I will burn you to ashes. It's kind of funny. I don't know if she actually threatened to hurt the rainwing. And then someone, it was like a teacher from Jade Mountain, they were like, I'm sure that rainwing worked really hard on their homework and deserve an apology. I don't know, that part was really funny. Pearl's really funny too, especially when Turtle's like, Turtle, and then Pearl was like, Moose. That was so funny. Also, the famous line, I want to see mommy kill grandma. Next is a one with lots of debates. Talons of Power. And here's the graphic novel. My friend saw this book at Half Price Books and was like, I think he called Turtle a chud or something. And at first I was like, how dare he call Turtle a chud? But then I like took a second glance and I was like, actually, I can kind of see where he's coming from. Turtle really is just a potato with anxiety. Whoops, I dropped the book for a second, but then I caught it in midair. So people, I hear a lot of people say, oh, Turtle does nothing the entire book. And, not really. He has that really cool Animus battle with Anemone. Okay, I mean, he kind of does follow Darkstalker around. It doesn't say anything, but it's, like, really cool, because he's, like, a spy, and he's gathering information. So I personally was not bored during this book. And, oh, what did I have to say? Oh, yeah, not Kibble, Kinkajou x Turtlejew, or whatever the fandom calls it. Some people say it's gross because Kinkajou was on a love spell and was forced to be in love with Turtle. And then some people are like, aw, but it was so cute though. They would have been so cute together. I was on the side of the shippers. I think Turtle and Kinkajou were lovely. Even if Kinkajou wasn't a love spell, I think it's possible that Kinkajou really does like Turtle for real. I think it definitely could happen, especially because Turtle is so damn respectful of Kinkajou. He doesn't take advantage of her for being on a love spell, and Kinkajou was all like, oh, I love you, Turtle, and then Turtle was like, I'm so sorry, but you were on a love spell, so we can't be together right now because I want you to like me for real. And I was like, wow, I know it's a low bar to not take advantage of the people you love, but like, oh my gosh, I don't think a lot of people would do that in real life, so that's really sweet. Also, I could relate to Turtle a lot with like how much he blamed himself for like everything that happens. Like he what did he do? Oh, he made Anemone an Animus, allegedly. Okay, I'm gonna go off topic for a second. I think that Anemone was born an Animus and Turtle didn't make her one, because how can we know for sure that Turtle made Anemone an Animus? Because I've heard a good point that people say, why didn't the Ice Wings just make more animi? And I was thinking, wait a second, we don't know if Anemone wasn't an Animus before Turtle made her one. Maybe she was already one. And that might explain a lot. That might explain why the Ice Wings never made more animi. Or the Sky Wings, actually the Sky Wings killed animi on sight, so I don't know. I'm under the assumption that you cannot make more animi as an Animus dragon. You cannot bring dragons back from the dead, and you cannot make more animi. Those are the two rules. Although Darkstalker did say that you can't make more animi, and Turtle was like, yes you can. And Darkstalker could have just said you can't make more animi because he didn't want more animi to be as powerful as him. But who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But that's just my theory. What I was going to say before that whole rant was, you know how Turtle made Anemone and Animus, and then Turtle was like, oh my god, this is all my fault. Anemone's all power hungry and bratty, and it's my fault because I made her an Animus and I gave her all that power. And I'm like, no, Turtle, it's not exactly your fault. And he really blames himself for a lot of things. And he he also, oh, he says stuff like, I want to bury myself at the bottom of the deepest trench in the ocean and then never come out again. And I'm like, that's, I think kind of like that a lot too. Is that bad? I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry for you, Turtle, but at the same time, like, I know exactly what he means, and I think we all kind of do. We've all wanted to be invisible at some point in our lives, and we've all felt invisible. Turtle feels invisible. I completely understand. I feel ignored by my friends so much. I don't feel included a lot. Not like, oh, woe is me, but that's just how I feel. You don't have to say, oh, I'll include you, I'll be your friend. I don't want to be your friend. Don't ask me to be your friend. Oh, remember when I said that Turtle didn't have those royal patterns on his wings? He actually does. I thought he didn't for a second. Also, I think Anemone, she is the most perfectly well-written antagonist in the whole series. She's not a villain, she's an antagonist. An antagonist is someone who, like, hampers the protagonist, okay? So Anemone's not exactly a villain, she doesn't do anything, like, evil, but she is an obstacle for Turtle, okay? She's really bratty. She's kind of like Muffin. She's like Muffin from Bluey, because there's some people who hate Muffin so much because she's bratty, but Muffin, she's acting like a real toddler would act. That's how toddlers act. That's a good representation. So Anemone, she's just like, this is normal for a young dragon, especially a young dragon with so much expectations on her as a princess, as an animus dragon. So I think it's perfectly reasonable for her to be really bratty and sometimes really rude to other dragons. And she also represents all of Turtle's shame and insecurity, like, perfectly, because Turtle thinks that Anemone's brattiness is, like, all his fault. I think Anemone was so well written in this book. Some people disagree. Some people hate Anemone in this book. I think she was, like, very beautifully well written. She's a lot different than she was in book 2. I don't know, she got really, maybe it's because of Darkstalker. Maybe because Darkstalker was like, hell yeah, we're both anime. We can do whatever we want. We can destroy the whole world if we want. And I think Darkstalker's influence made Anemone really bratty. Also, everyone getting brainwashed. Winter getting brainwashed. That was funny. Oh, the door just made a noise. That was scary. And the 10th book to top it off, Darkness of Dragons. It has Kibble in it. Kibble's like the hottest character in Wings of Fire, I can't lie. Kibble's so cool. Also, I feel like this book, it's a lot longer than the others, definitely. But I feel like too many things happened in this book. You know, Kibble, I don't know why Ostrich was a priority. I was like, what? Who cares about Ostrich? I was like kind of bored during the Ostrich part. I was like, fine, go get Ostrich if you really care about her that much. I don't know what Kibble's relationship to Ostrich was. I think Six Claws or Thorn told him to, like, keep an eye after Ostrich or something. Other than that, I don't know why he cared about Ostrich so much. But fine, he cares. He goes after Ostrich anyway, and he meets... okay, wait, the story was messy. Winter insisted on going, by the way. There was, like, this scene where it says Winter slouched handsomely against the wall and said, I'm going with you. That was really funny. Because it was like Winter slouched handsomely. That's funny. There's a lot of bi-representation with Winter and Kibble. I think their relationship was really funny. And also kind of sweet. Okay, what happened in this book? I remember Kibble going after Ostrich to try to find her, and then, was it Vulture who took Ostrich hostage? Ostrich hostage, wow. Ostrich hostage. Was it Vulture who took Ostrich hostage? Because Vulture is Kibble's grandfather, like a totally evil dragon. He has, like, all these tattoos, and I think, yeah, it's gonna be cool to see him in the graphic novel. And then he, like, he talks to his mother, and then his mother, like, manipulates him into trusting her again, so that Kibli will, like, be with her and listen to her and give her power or something, and then they go back to Thorn's strong... Okay, I'm really messy on this plot. There was a lot of stuff happening, but I do remember what I remember more clearly, because I remember reading the ending of this book at my grandma's house, because I could not set this book down, so I had to bring it to her at, like, a St. Patrick's Day cookout. I think it was, like, St. Patrick's Day when I finished reading this. I remember the Darkstalker part more clearly. I remember the fight, oh, you know, the Ice Wings and the Night Wings at J Mountain, and Turtle jumping in front of an Anemone while the block just, like, flattens him. That part was really funny. But I was also scared for Anemone because I thought she was gonna die, and I was like, oh, she's an animus, she'll be fine. And Turtle, remember he made himself, like, invincible or something? I thought that was so cool. That was so cool in the battle. Turtle could have he probably could have been able to win the battle. Oh, I'm sorry, it's, like, really late at night. Yeah, so the battle happens, and then Darkstalker just picks up Kibli and flies away into a hole, I think? I was just imagining, like, this little hole in the ground, like a groundhog dug it or something, and then they just flew so far down deep into it, and I was like, damn, how big is this hole? And, you know, Darkstalker spins around the little jewels in the air, and then he's like, well, I can see how smart you are, because... Alright, Kibli really wants to be an animus, and because he's, like, so smart, and he was like, if I was an okay, this is Kibli's thoughts. Kibli was like, if I was an animus, I would make every dragon like me. That would be so cool, right? That would be so cool to just make every dragon like me. And while Darkstalker was underground listening to Kibli's thoughts, he was like, what a cool idea, I should do that too, when I emerge from the ground. And he does, and he brainwashes everyone into being this loyalist supporter. That was really scary. And some people say, oh, Kibli would just be Darkstalker if he was an animus. I'm sorry, but I agree with them. You may love Kibli, but if he was an animus, he might go in the wrong direction, you know what I mean? And then Darkstalker's like, I will offer you animus power. Wait, hold on. Okay, Darkstalker was about to make Kibli a dragon, so that means animus dragons can make other animi. Okay, I just disproved my own point. So you can make other animus dragons. An animus can make other animi. Okay, I got that down. Why was I so strongly under the assumption when I just, like, I just disproved my own point by just, like, saying the story over again in my mind. Okay, you can make other animi. Alright, okay, I'm so sorry. I just had a moment of a lot of confusion. I was like, hold on, you can make other animi. Okay, so Darkstalker's like, Kibli, I can make you an animus. We can rule the world. We can have power over everyone else. Doesn't that sound so fun? Everyone will love us. No one will question us. We'll have complete control over the entire world. Wouldn't that be nice? And Kibli's like, no. But he does consider becoming an animus for a second, ruling the world with Darkstalker. That's scary, and that does make him sound like Darkstalker. Darkstalker and Kibli are so similar, and I think that's, like, awesome writing. Like, to make their thought processes so similar, but also have them be, like, completely different characters in, like, the morality spectrum, if that makes sense. There's, like, evil and good and morally gray. So, like, Darkstalker's evil, Kibli is not evil. And, okay, that scene at the end was really interesting. It was kind of long, but it was really interesting. And then some people, they hated the end of this arc, but I personally really like the end of this arc, where Kinkajou, she learns how to write. She's, like, the first Rainwing to learn how to write in, like, 100 years. And then she learns how to write, and she enchants Darkstalker to turn into Peacemaker. And I thought it was like poetic justice that everyone made fun of Rainwings for not being able to read or write or do anything smart, let alone save the world. And then Kinkajou, she's this little dragon that Darkstalker didn't care about, kind of like he wasn't really enchanted to not think about. He wasn't, okay, he was enchanted to not think about Kinkajou at all, so like that kind of makes sense. But Darkstalker was like, what? Who is this stupid little dragon? She can't do anything to me. She's not a threat to me. Yeah, she is. She made you not exist anymore. Kinkajou, wow. Wow, Kinkajou was a real hero. You would think Ghibli would be the real hero, but no. What a plot twist. And a few other things I need to say. Unfortunately for Darkness of Dragons, there is no graphic novel for it yet, but it is getting released this year, December 29th, which is a really weird date to release a book, I guess, because, you know, it would be so much nicer if they released the book before Christmas, so I could, like, get it as a Christmas present, but no, they have to be weird and release it a few days after Christmas. And come on, come on, why'd you do this to me? But I am so excited for the Darkness of Dragons graphic novel. And the author said, oh, there's lots of fight scenes that are several pages long. I am crazy excited for this. And especially because of the epilogue of this book. This has the best epilogue of all of the books in the series. Because of how some ships become canon. Ghibli and Moon get together, which was super awesome. And then I'm so here for it because Turtle said in the epilogue, I still really like you, Kinkajou. That's, oh my god, that's so cute. That's so amazing. And Winter's out there alone, looking at humans or something in like a pine tree. I don't know what Winter's doing in the epilogue. And then Peril and Clay, you can tell they like each other. It's a really slow burn. Yeah, they've got a slow burn going on. Yeah, you can tell they obviously like each other, so in my mind they're just a couple by now. They can touch each other, so they can like hug and they can kiss and stuff, and they could have eggs together. They probably will. Wow, that'd be really cool. I hope they don't have a fire scales dragonette though, because that, I don't know, I feel like it would be really hard to raise a fire scales dragonette, especially with how they love to run around and touch random things. And what else did I have to say? Oh, yeah, my overall thoughts on the arc. My second favorite arc in the series. The thing I love most about this arc is the characters. Like, the main characters, and Kinkajou, of course. Because it feels like it's a school. So it's like the perfect mix of a slice of life, kind of like how they're like high school students in sort of like a drama-filled friend group or something, with like really, really colorful personalities, and then it's also a big adventure of stopping some all-powerful being that came out of under a mountain all of a sudden. It's kind of like, okay, I've never watched anime, so I'm like just making assumptions, but isn't that how animes work? Like, they're just like school kids, and then all of a sudden there's like these dark magical forces they have to fight. I don't know. Is that so? That's probably how some animes work. I feel like I see a lot of pictures of anime kids in like school outfits, and then there's a lot of like fighting scenes in anime. I don't really know anything about anime. All I've watched of anime is Chainsmoker Cat. That's a really bad first anime to watch. Anyway, this is like, I don't know, this is like a 30-minute long video. I'm proud of myself for that. Anyway, so excited. You should be excited for the Darkness of Dragons novel. Graphic novel. I am excited for the graphic Okay, let me start that over. I hope you are excited for the Darkness of Dragons graphic novel because I am excited for the Darkness of Dragons graphic novel. Okay, I said that right. Bye.